Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of Taboo Table Talk. I'm your host, Krish Mohan, and these are your pre show announcements. I want to tell you guys about some really awesome virtual and in person live stand up comedy dates that are coming up next Thursday, February 24th. I will be doing a live virtual recording of A Forkful of Noodles at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to be talking about the history of Cuba. A bit of a controversial topic, I know, but if you're interested in the history of Cuba, if you're interested in my thoughts on what's going on in that part of the world, come join me next Thursday, 8 p.m., for A Forkful of Noodles, live and virtual via Zoom. March 3rd, I will be performing some new material via Zoom, little stand up show that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing that on March 3rd, and then on March 24th we have another Forkful of Noodles live and virtual recording. And if you want tickets for any of these virtual shows, you can go directly to my website, krishmohanhaha.com. It's KRISHMOHANHAHA.com to grab your tickets. I also have some in-person performances, some live in-person performances. In April, I'm going to be on tour with Ron Placone from April 16th through April 25th. It's going to be a quick 10-day tour. We're going to be in Pittsburgh. We're going to be in Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Burlington, Portland, Maine, Boston, Massachusetts, and New York City. So if you're in those cities, grab your tickets either directly on my website or on Ron's website at ronplacone.com. My website again is krishmohanhaha.com. It's KRISHMOHANHAHA.com. That's your one-stop shop for all things Krish Mohan. You can grab my stand-up comedy albums. You can check out past episodes of this podcast, Forkful of Noodles, the Road Reflections, and the Dispatches right on my website. And you can make a donation or become a sustaining member. Sustaining members get free tickets to all the virtual shows. And whenever I come through your city, you get free tickets to come to the live shows as well. So those are your fun bonus prizes. But you also get a bunch of other stuff like additional bonus videos, bonus stand-up comedy and storytelling content, unreleased material, that sort of stuff. And there's always some more fun things in the works as well, some bonus gifts for sustaining members. So do check that out. That part of the website will be updated and changing soon. I will be adding various different ways that you guys can contribute, not just over Patreon or PayPal or directly through my website. There'll be a few other options for you guys as well. Again, that website is krishmohanhaha.com, KRISHMOHANHAHA.com. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of Taboo Table Talk. I'm your host, Krish Mohan. Apologies for missing last week. I had to kind of take a slow day. I've had to take a few slow days this month. I'll talk about that in a second. But last week, I was down with a migraine that didn't seem so intense, but I didn't want to push it. So I took things slow. Anytime I felt the pressure behind my eyes, which is usually where it starts. I think I've talked about this on this podcast before. It usually starts right behind my eyes, and then will work its way up to my temples. And by the time it gets to the back of my head, around the base of my head, and by my neck, it's pretty much too late. That means I'm down. I'm done for the day. I got to go lay down. I got to shut things down. So I didn't want it to get to that point. I still wanted to, be able to enjoy some things in the evening. I wanted to see some people, do some things. So I kind of took it easy, which did mean that I did not put out a new episode of the podcast because of that. So, but the rest of the time, it was fine. For it's like 80% of the time, I'm 100% fine. But I have been doing a lot. I've started taking karate classes again. I've taken Ishinru karate classes again. I used to do this when I was a kid, and those kids classes were Tuesdays and Saturdays. Saturday mornings, and I didn't want to give up my Saturday mornings for too much longer. I was giving up a lot when I was 12, 13 years old, and that's a lot to ask of a kid that age. But I'm slowly starting to get the hang of it. I'm getting back into it. It has revealed some muscle groups that need some strengthening, that need some mobility work. So I've been focusing on that and improving some physical aspects of my body, as well as some mental health journey that I started taking last year in order to pull myself out of some pretty negative thought patterns, some PTSD stuff that's been around since. Some of the stuff has been around all my life that I kind of just backburnered and didn't really take care of. And I spent, concentrated a lot of my efforts on touring and staying on tour and being on the road and doing all that stuff. But a lot of it is also dealing with the divorce and being in an abusive relationship for a very long time. So I've been focusing on that, and things have been going really well in that regard. And yesterday, and on Tuesday, really, Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, I felt, I wasn't getting out of bed as quickly as I normally was. I was feeling a little bit more lethargic and like just brain foggy. And I know it's not like migraine brain foggy, because that feels a lot different than this. And I kind of recognize what this is. I kind of feel like I'm dipping into a depressive episode. And again, there's really no reason for me to have a depressive episode right now. Things are going pretty well. I'm in a relationship with somebody wonderful. My friendships with people that I'm very close with and that are very dear to me are going really, really well. We've gotten deep into our D&D games, and I feel like my physical health is doing really well. I feel like my mental health is doing really well. But sometimes you just have depression sneak up on you. But I'm catching it is kind of the thing here that I'm proud of myself for doing is catching the depression, that before it becomes, I'm just staying in bed all day. And I think part of the reason why this is coming up is because I don't think I've taken enough time to rest, and I don't think I've taken enough time to recharge. Like I said, I've been doing a lot. I've been taking care of my physical health and my mental health, and concentrating on that a lot. I've been putting my focus into my interpersonal relationships, into my romantic relationship, and I haven't particularly been focused on the relationship with myself. Right, so just solo time and taking a bit of a recharge. I have not been doing that. And I think this is my body saying, hey, you got to start doing that. You got to start prioritizing, yourself a little bit more. Not just yourself, because I think with going to these karate classes and going to the gym and stretching regularly and focusing on my mental health and taking all this time to be aware of all these things is focusing on myself, right? Improving my relationships and going out and not just doing comedy as a vehicle for my happiness, but then expanding what my definition of happiness is, and what priorities I want in life, and the type of life I want. All the shit that I think you've heard me babble about more times than I can count. But what I didn't prioritize is rest and recharge, and that's very, very important. So if you're someone like me, that is this introvert extrovert combo type thing, where you do like people, and you do like going out and doing things and being active, but you also recharge alone. Like you value your time with yourself. Don't neglect the recharge days. Don't neglect the days where you just do nothing for a little while. um, so that's gonna have to kind of come into play. And one of the things I'm really working on for myself is being forgiving to myself and being kind to myself. I know I've talked about that on this podcast before, but it's a good reminder, because sometimes when we get excited about the new things in our lives, we often forget about going back to the basics, right? The basics of self-care. Hey, you just need a day to sit and maybe do a little bit of cleaning, go for a walk, sit and read a book, play some video games, watch a show that you've wanted to watch for a very long time, that sort of stuff. So I can feel this depression coming on. I know a couple of things to do to kind of keep it at bay, so it doesn't um, fully overtake my mental health, and I'm just down for a couple of days. I kind of have an idea of what to do. Part of that is going to involve resting. Part of that is going to involve being kind to myself. And I will say that part of that is going to mean that I will probably have less content coming out in maybe the next week or two. And it's because of this. It's because I'm trying not to overdo things and go into a depressive episode. I am working on a new schedule that includes, this social life and this romantic life, and taking care of my physical health with these classes and everything. And that's going to be a bit of an adjustment, because I think this new schedule thing has only been going on for roughly 5-6 weeks, something like that. So it's going to take a little bit of time for me to get adjusted to these things. And so I need to give myself some grace, and I need to give myself some breathing room, as it were, to get used to the schedule and to incorporate days where I'm just recharging, where I'm not doing a whole lot. So anyway, that's a big long explanation of what's happening on my end, and why you might not be seeing a lot of stuff coming out from me. And to just say, hey, stay tuned. I've got some things in the works that I'm excited about, that that I want to share with you guys. Like I said, next week will be a Forkful of Noodles live and virtual recording. We're going to be talking about Cuba. So I hope some of you guys will come check out that show. Tickets are available on my website at krishmohanhaha.com. And the reason I'm bringing that up in the context of this podcast is because I'm going to be focusing on that pretty much the entirety of the day. And that is going to mean that I probably won't be putting out an episode. Not probably. I won't be putting out an episode of Taboo Table Talk because I want to give my full attention to ensuring that the details of the show are good, are put together. I'm not missing anything. I'm not going to goof anything up, and just kind of relaxing before tackling such a big issue. And being able to perform the show to the best of my ability. So those are kind of some of the things that I'm focusing on. But that's not what you guys are here for. You guys aren't here for my plugs. You guys aren't here for. Maybe you are. Maybe you're here for the plugs. Maybe you're here for the little babble and updates that I do. That is. I feel like there's probably like a mental health check-in update kind of episode coming in, because it is a new perspective and a new mindset that I'm approaching a lot of the stuff that I'm doing this year, that goes back to all the work that I was doing last year in order to get to this point. So I'll probably end up having an episode where I go in a lot more into the details of all of the stuff that I'm doing now. But I want to get to our guest. That's probably the big reason that you guys are here is our guest, Graham Elwood. Graham Elwood is back on the podcast. Very excited to have him back on the podcast. I don't know if you guys have followed some. I'm sure some of the people listening are big fans of Graham. If you are not, if you are unfamiliar with Graham Elwood, he was on the podcast before, so you're probably familiar with him that way. But you should go check out his channel. Go check him out on Rockfin, Odyssey, YouTube, at Graham Elwood on social media. Fantastic comedian. There's not a lot of comedians out there that are talking about big social issues. Even when politics was starting to become kind of the mainstream topic of conversation when it came to comedy, it was all just kind of very superficial, surface level Trump jokes. Whereas folks like Graham and Ron Placone, Katie Halper, myself, Lee Camp, these are folks that are digging a little bit deeper into some of the bigger sociopolitical issues, not just in the United States but around the world, because we are a global imperial power that affects the world. And Graham is one of those people that talks about that. Graham has a bunch of stuff that he does. He does a Political Vigilante show, which he does multiple times a week, up to 5 times a week. He live streams covering big stories that corporate media won't cover. He does Government Secrets with Lee Camp that comes out on Fridays. And he does shows with Ron Placone. So he's got quite a bit of content, quite a lot to follow. And again, somebody that is very well versed in these topics and talks to a large variety of people with many different political opinions and theories and so on and so forth. So he's one of the channels that you do get kind of a full-rounded conversation with. So highly recommend you guys check out Graham, and don't just take my word on it, because you're about to listen to why I enjoy Graham stuff, and why I like having him on the podcast and everything. And it's fun because we really got to talk a lot about comedy in general, and I don't get to do that very often, because I do have very, very serious guests, and we don't get to go into the kind. I guess it's a little bit of shop talk. Is what it really boils down to. It's a little bit of shop talk. But I enjoy it. I don't know if you guys do. I'm a big old comedy nerd. That you guys know that I like analyzing comedy. I like getting into the nitty gritty. That is actually one of the projects that I'm going to be doing, is kind of analyzing um, comedians and music and movies and television shows and episodes and that sort of stuff. So that is going to be something that I'm going to be getting into, and I think and realistically, talking to Graham kind of hyped me up to do that project. So without any further ado, let's dive into our conversation with the delightful Graham Elwood, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy. Yeah, cool. So I actually wanted to start with, I know you've done game shows. You host a game show on your channel. I actually wanted to start with a game show that kind of combines a little bit of both the shows that you do with Ron and you do with Lee, Government Secrets with Lee. And so I'm gonna name a CIA operation, and you tell me what you think.
I already love it. I'm already excited. Any CIA operation. Just I get so excited to know what this rogue, evil organization that gets United States taxpayer money does. I'm just already. You got me. You had me at CIA operation, Chris.
this should legitimately be a game show. I'm not, but I'll
It's
name
actually
the
a
operation.
category. It's one we haven't done it that often, but it is a category in anything can happen where we say something awful and you got to pick either CIA or KGB.
Man, that is, talk about a Sophie's choice. Just Who
But
do
I've
I
just been
care?
also toying with a new called CIA Operation Bingo, because it's what I call it on Government Secrets. Because I literally would do that. We'd be like before the show, and I'd like, shit, I don't have anything to talk about. And I just type in CIA Operation and would pick a letter of the alphabet.
Oh, fuck.
So I'm figuring out how to structure that for anything can happen, of like maybe name what it is, or name the real one, or name the fake one, or something, multiple choice, something. So
that would be pretty. Yeah, because the first one that I have is Operation Windbreaker. What would you think Operation Windbreaker would be?
CIA Operation Windbreaker. God, I feel like I even know this one. CIA, is this an actual CIA operation?
Oh God, no.
It
could be. It could be.
Oh, you're wanting me to make up what it would be. Oh, I get it.
I have stumbled onto the most devious, and I'm gonna be dead in 2 days for figuring out like the most devious. Like Operation Windbreaker was the one.
How did he know this? Like, clamp him down. Well, CIA Operation Windbreaker would probably be something, and they have the actual ones are as ridiculous as you could possibly imagine. So any guess here is not going to be too far fetched. So really I would CIA Operation Windbreaker would be like, how do we get this Swedish prime minister who doesn't want to drilling in Sweden to slip and fall on his boat. So we're going to put a weighted windbreaker on his boat, and we're going to gust winds that he falls off his boat, and we say it was an accidental death. That's CIA Operation Windbreaker.
The only other thing it could be is it's a budget proposal to get all intelligence agencies windbreakers with their titles on their back, like we see in the movies. It's either an assassination attempt, or they just kind of wanted to look cool.
Yeah, we want windbreakers for the CIA softball team. When we play the NSA or the DOD, we all want to have windbreakers that say CIA softball on the back, which is fun. I mean,
that's a good one.
It's like a team thing, and then we all go out to Applebee's afterwards. And I don't know, just didn't want to turn it into a big thing, but
the CIA is just trying to have a good time.
That's all there are. I mean, let's not be so hard on these guys. They're just out there having fun, overthrowing democratically elected leaders for United States corporate interests and causing more mayhem on the world than the plague. Yeah, like, sure, they're great.
But sometimes still bring a buffet,
yes, exactly. Like sometimes they're fun. You know what I mean? Like, they'll bring snacks.
Yeah, like Mike Pompeo bought a macaroni salad, and it was darling.
That guy can cook. I don't know what he puts in it, but it is. I don't know if it's like a Dijon mustard. I don't know. There's some little spice. Is it cumin? I can't figure, but it's amazing.
It's desperation sweat from Guantanamo Bay is what it is. That's.
I don't know if you can hear those sirens in the background. They're coming for me.
They're coming for. We figured it out. We actually figured out what the Operation Windbreaker actually was. Yeah. Like, do you also find it? Yeah, right. Do you also find it infuriating that the media kind of makes the CIA to be like this badass, like the Bourne Identity? It's like that's what CIA agents are, and then you see them on TV, and it's just Mike Pompeo, who I don't think can do one sit-up.
I don't think Mike Pompeo could stand up quickly. You know what I mean? Let alone like jump through windows and kick a guy in the face, like building to building. I don't think, is it infuriating watching the media just stop right there? Yes. The answer is yes. This is, in all seriousness, this is part of the sophisticated marketing and propaganda of the CIA, is that they're always shown in a favorable light. I mean, the CIA, and we've talked about this on Government Secrets, they've had offices in Hollywood since the 50s. And they have now, they're so entrenched, they have script approval on like a lot of these big, like the Marvel movies and stuff like that. So the CIA is, and then part of it is, there's this intelligence experts that come on to weigh in on whatever, war of the day we're pushing in our media, and they're CIA operatives. I mean, there was in the last, in the midterms, the 2018 midterms, and in the 2020 election, there were literally this, I forget who covered it. Maybe it was Truth Dig or whatever, listed all of what they called CIA Democrats, all these people with ties to the intelligence, who were flat out intelligence agents or ties to the intelligence community that were running in the Democratic Party. And so even Mike Pompeo, like, I remember, this is one of the things that so woke me up, right? It was the fall. So Trump had already been elected and we were going through cabinet selections, right? And it was like January of 2017, right?
Yeah,
and
it seems so long ago now.
So long ago. And I literally just started my show, Political Vigilante. I started it January 2nd, 2017. So I've been doing the show for 5 years. But at that point, I was brand new and I was really finally paying more attention than I ever had. And Dianne Feinstein's Twitter feed was all like, Mr. Pompeo, we don't, because he's pro-torture. And so everybody was like talking on we can't support this guy. And her whole Twitter feed, Dianne Feinstein's Twitter feed, was all like, no torture, Mr. Pompeo, we stand no. And then I went to cabinetvotes.org, a website I'd never really paid attention to, and she voted for him. And I was like, that is the theatrics of the Democratic Party. The Republicans are just overtly evil and wrong. They just say, we fuck the environment, fuck you, fuck anyone of color. Like, the Democrats,
we're not hiding it.
We're not hiding. They're not hiding it. The Democrats, oh, no way. And they wave their rainbow flags and everything else. But at the end of the day, they're all for torture. They're all for war. I mean, this democratically controlled Congress just voted for Biden's $768 billion war budget, and 51 members of the Progressive Caucus voted for it. So, I mean, it's all maddening to watch this whole thing. And when you really, in government secrets, since the bulk of what I personally have covered has been CIA operations, it's unbelievable. And this is just what's out there available, like on Wikipedia. Like, I you know what I mean? Like,
that's the thing, is like, if more people knew, because I remember, and this seemed really complicated, there was some CIA operation where they were using like a bargain lounger chair or something, like a reclining.
It's literally like called Operation Lounge Chair or something like that, where they were trying to.
What, like, that whole thing is just, I was just like, you're making, so your whole thing is you're making an uncomfortable chair. Is that
your tactic to throw off the Soviet Politburo, is to just make them have back pain or something? Is that?
Yeah. It's like, we gave them spina bifida. Oh, great.
When their chiropractor bills go through the roof, that's when we will crumble the Soviet Union. No, they wanted to plant I remember that one. They wanted to plant this was in like the 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
They wanted to plant a recording device inside the lounge chair. So they gifted Khrushchev this lounge chair on behalf of the American people. And they were they wanted to hide a recording device in there.
What an insane, like, this is taxpayer money.
Dude, think of the craziest shit. They've done it. They've thought about it. They've tried it. Like, we've covered stuff that's just like, no way. And it's like, yep. Not to mention, I mean, I could go on and on
now. Like, I'm sorry, we could have warp speed by now.
Oh God.
Like, like, we could make Star Trek First Contact a reality. But instead, we're like, what if we put a recording device in a weird chair?
I mean, dude, if you think of just the crap the CIA has wasted money on, the coups and everything, we could have like completely green. We could have been like, oh, we got off of fossil fuels in the 93 was the last year. We could be just clean energy, just leading the world in all of these amazing. We could have the best education, we got rid of the handguns. America's the safest country in the world. And we've got the best public schools and we've got free healthcare. And we led the world in reversing climate change. And so now here we are, the year 2022, the energies are clean. The ocean levels have come down. There's no more plastic. Like, we could be doing all of that with the trillions of dollars we've spent on the war machine and the intelligence community. It's unbelievable. But instead, we are probably not going to see the year 2050.
I mean, that especially now with what's happening in Ukraine and how they're dealing with that whole thing, which is crazy to me, because it's like, I was too young for me to like really pay attention to the politics behind, post 9/11, the Patriot Act and everything. Now it's like, oh yeah, no, we were lied into that war. And then you go even further back and you go, oh, wait a minute, we were lied into the Gulf War. Oh, wait a minute, we were lied into Vietnam too. Like, the second half of the 21st century is just nonstop lies into war by the states. So, I have to think, like, at this point, how have people not seen the writing on the wall with Ukraine?
I mean, there's two things. I think mainly the people in power are very sophisticated. They have a very sophisticated propaganda machine, And then some of the onus, I'm sorry, has to go on the American people who just willfully, they willfully want to fall into this tribal red state, blue state stuff. I mean, like, my biggest gripe is with the college educated liberal who still defends the Democratic Party. And unfortunately, it's mainly my generation. It's like Gen X liberals who watch way too much West Wing still think that, the Democrats are better, and they just don't want to hear it. And when you pull up, not wild conspiracies, when you just say stuff like, well, Obama dropped more bombs than Bush. Yeah, well, they always have excuses for him. And it's like, and then they think they're so much better than the Trumper who says Trump never lies. I'm like, how are you any different? You're just as insane. You're drinking just as much of the bullshit Kool-Aid. I mean, and just their selective outrage just drives me nuts. Like,
right.
Trump's putting kids in cages. Obama built the cages. Well, Biden is still putting kids in cages. Well, they're called detention facilities.
So they're nicer.
They're nicer. They're more. Again, they painted little animals on the walls of the cages that separate the families. I mean, it's like,
you remember what detention was like when you were a kid, Graham?
Fun.
It was fun with the barbed wires, and you got stickers. It was a good time.
Snacks and juice boxes. It's a blast.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. That's the biggest. That's been. I mean, that's been a nonstop hurdle for anybody that's on the left, is dealing with the pro-Democratic Party people. And I know you and Ron have talked about this quite often, is the pro-electoral politics people that genuinely believe that's the only way to drive change. I don't hate electoral politics. I just think we put too much fucking pressure on it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I'm one of these people that I always say on my show, you should still vote. I will always vote. And especially like local ballot measures and local elections, I think are more important in some ways, because you can affect, first of all, your local, you interact with your local government on a daily basis. The federal government is not cleaning your streets, picking up your trash, handling your schools and parks. That's all local government.
Right.
So,
right.
And so local ballot initiatives matter. Your city council matters, and the big powerful people at the top can't influence all of that as directly as they can. The problem, electoral politics are still relevant. The problem is Americans, because of the marketing and the billions of dollars that's spent, especially every presidential cycle, Americans jump into it like it's the Super Bowl and the Oscars, like this is it. And they view it just like some big sporting event that they got to pick a team and vote for. And then when their team doesn't win or whatever, then some people just go, well, I don't vote, because the whole system is broken. And while I understand that, again, don't vote. In 2016, didn't vote was the biggest voting bloc. If didn't vote had a candidate, they would have beaten Trump and Hillary.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Because that's not something a lot of people talk about, is how many people just didn't vote in 2016. And that was supposed to be as every election is, the most important election of all time.
Right.
But they don't talk about the fact that these are registered voters who, for a number of reasons, felt disenfranchised by the entire system. So doesn't that mean that you have a problem within your system, rather than saying, but they do the same thing. It's like you said, it's a sophisticated propaganda network, and they know how to kind of steer the public to fight amongst each other.
And look, and also it's by design. Look, a smaller voter turnout favors the 1%, because that's less people to manipulate. And so that's why both parties, which are basically just, they're just arms of the ruling elites, you know what I mean? That's why both parties are very good at crushing third parties. They don't want independent third party. I mean, they don't want it, because they know that if you gave a solid if you gave that 150 million people or whatever that don't vote, that could, something to vote for, these two parties are gone. They're gone. I mean, because they know their history. They know, look, the Federalists, the Whigs, I mean, they boom, they got wiped out because something better came along. And then you look at, and this is something Americans refuse to do, is you look at other countries that have coalition governments, and their parliaments don't just have two parties and one has control one year and then they vote, and then it just depends. They'll have 3 or 4 parties. And so you want to pass a bill, well, you got to go through the Greens, the Socialists, the Conservatives, and the Liberals. So that, and people go, oh, and Americans are such suckers. They don't want to listen or learn. They want to say the same things over and over. So Americans will go, oh, that third parties, that'll gum up Congress. You think it could be worse? No, actually, you can't. First of all, you could not make our system worse. You could not. If you actively tried, you could make it worse. But more important, I always go, think of it this way. What if neither the Democrats or the Republicans had a majority in the House and the Senate? What if there was like a half a dozen Greens, a half a dozen Libertarians in there, half a dozen People's Party, whatever? So now you passed one of these bills, and like the military bill, we want to give Biden, a Democrat, $768 billion. And the Green Party goes, nope. People's Party goes, nope. Libertarians, they all get together and go, nope. Well, how about 700 billion? Nope. How about 350? Like, no, we will not vote for this until you guys come down on your number. Oh, something might get done. And it would be like, they can't have that, because whenever you hear the words bipartisan, just know you're going to get screwed over.
Yeah.
Like bipartisan and these words, these 3 ones, bipartisan, privatization, and deregulation. Those 3 words favor the ruling elites. Those 3 phrases favor the ruling elites. And just know that those 3 words, you're going to get fucked right in the ass with like a fucking iron fist.
They're bringing Thatcher's iron fist back just for that one.
She's going to just, Maggie's going to just Pulp Fiction, bring out the gimp to the working class.
Yeah, the other one too that I'm like, every time I hear, I'm just like, oh man, here it comes. I'm reaching across the aisle.
Reaching across the aisle to fuck over Americans. That's what I'm doing.
It's just, you're reaching across the aisle to give each other hand jobs. That's
fucking jerk it so the American people get less.
Yeah. Oh my God. But this is the thing, is like, I've had these discussions with people, is they kind of look at that as kind of an honorable thing. And as a concept, it's honorable, but with what we have, if you have capitalism running a government, reaching across the aisle is just, it's like forming an alliance on Survivor. Somebody's going to wind up naked and somebody is going to be fucked. And you have herpes. You just have herpes. That's
horrible.
It's the worst.
Exactly. Like compromise, working across the aisle. That is how you find good solutions with reasonable people that haven't been bought and paid for by Wall Street. Then, like 2 people who, let's say you and I both agree we want Medicare for all, but we disagree on how to do it. Well, then that's where we sit down and come up with a really good solution. But if I'm paid by the healthcare lobby and you're paid by the healthcare lobby, our compromise is only going to crush Americans who just want free healthcare, like most of the Western Europe and Australia and Canada have had for 70 years.
And a lot of Middle Eastern countries in the 70s and 80s too. That's the other thing that people don't realize in this argument with Medicare for all. I think you had pointed out in a video is one, JFK was calling for it in like 1961.
62. He gave
62,
that speech in 1962.
Which is like, at that point, I mean, I think JFK gets close to being, because I think he was learning, which is why they killed him. But the other thing too is like at that point, like Afghanistan had a socialist government that was, giving people health care and education and treating women properly. Like Syria had its own public healthcare program. And these are all countries that we went in and destabilized. We took down the democratically elected socialist leaders and then dismantle all these social programs. And it's like, this is a blueprint. This is exactly what they fucking did here. It's just the only difference is they didn't have to destabilize the government in the United States. They just were the government,
And again, going back, the CIA had a hand in the destabilization. I mean, you go back to Iran in 1953, Mossadegh, democratically elected. He wanted to nationalize the oil and give the profits to the citizens of Iran. And the CIA came in and said no, and staged a coup and put the Shah in there, who was a brutal dictator. And that's what they did. But in all fairness, a lot of those Middle Eastern countries, they really should not have put their countries above American oil. And I think that needs to be pointed out. They really should. That's a mistake. You shouldn't be starting a country over. It's our oil. So let's set up your country somewhere else.
Yeah. You need to move away from our oil fields.
You really do. You really need it. It's like the Native Americans in this country, they have a lot of nerve being born and raised on land and then thinking it's theirs. So, I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
that was part of the Magna Carta. It's called the Dibs Charter of 1492. That's Did they not read it?
You guys lost Rochambeau. We get your land. Like, let's just let it, we called dibs. You didn't. It's fine.
You had an opportunity. You were here the whole time, but you just didn't.
You should have called dibs when you were raising like 5 generations of children. Like, you should have done that.
That's on you.
That's really, I'm just calling it the way I see it. I hate to be a dick, but
yeah, that's the best imperialist line. I hate to be a dick, but we're going to come in with the full force of our military and, kind of like destroy everything you've built over the course of 500 years. If that's cool, but even if it's not, we're still going to kind of do it.
Yeah. And I know you guys were all like living in concert with nature, and we're going to just fuck everything up. So we're going to just, cause there's money to be made. So good luck.
Yeah. Have you guys heard about the economy? It's pretty
great.
It's pretty great. We built a whole fucking religion out of it that we can't say is a religion for tax purposes. But it's basically
a religion. It's a cult.
It's a cult. Yes.
Capitalism is a death cult that tricks its members into thinking that it's great that they get to buy stuff.
Fuck, if it's a death cult, dude, when are we drinking the Kool-Aid and fucking ascending to the third plane or whatever? I don't know what the cults are saying these days. I'm not caught up on modern cults, Graham.
Well, I love watching cult documentaries. And I've even been working on this bit in my act because I have to iron it out. But every time I watch cult documentaries, and I think this is why comedians you could never trick us into a cult. Like, you just, unless you drugged us or something, because always halfway through every documentary, I'm like, it's a fucking cult. What are you guys, idiots? Like, how do you, come on. They always start the same way. Like, we all wanted to be together. A bunch of hippies living off the land, or no more war, or we're all in the same religion. We all wanted to lose weight or something. And then it's always like, and then we had to get a tattoo of the guy's name on our dicks or whatever, whatever, we were all doing yoga and he stuck his thumb in my butt. And I thought it was weird, but I didn't want to not get enlightenment. So I let him keep doing it. Like, no, the guy how do you not?
You're in a yoga cult, man. It's
a cult. we all started wearing the same sash. That's weird. That's a cult. That's not a private school, or unless you're in a private school or a team, you that's weird. Okay. So
You don't need to wear the same fucking yoga pants while you're strengthening your core, man.
Yeah.
You don't. I feel like when somebody says you got to tattoo your name on my on your dick, that's the moment where you're like, okay,
Yeah, I'm out.
I feel
it's not about the money. Then why is this guy rolling up in a limousine? You know what I mean? Like, wait a minute. What? Like all of them, like if you see the egregious money or there's always some flagrant, and they're so like, you can tell these cult leaders are so drunk with the power. They're just like, these fucking idiots will believe anything. Like I'll tell them they got to do hot yoga or they're weak, and I'll be sitting in an air-conditioned chair. Like that one, the Bikram guy, he's just like sitting on this air-conditioned chair at this tent. He's like, you guys are weak if you drink water. Like, what are that? Like unreal. The Nexum guy.
Drink water, man. Like you should 100% keep drinking water. It's
all of them. I couldn't finish the Nexum cult one because they're just like, well, we just had to go all, he said if we all sucked his dick, we could all, we would find the truth. And I'm like, oh boy, I got some truth for you then. You know what I mean? Like
it's just semen. That's the truth.
The truth is this guy's tricking you into getting blowjobs. That's what the trick is. That's the truth. It's just like, there's no light.
I do think that if a comedian got caught up in it, we would try to like prove the cult wrong. And then if it's that guy, we would be like, I'll suck his dick, but I mean, it's just gonna be semen, you guys. I'll do it to prove you guys wrong.
See, I sucked his dick and I didn't ascend to the spaceship, so I'm still here.
It's just a regular old dick, you guys. It's not even like.
Or we would just do it just to make a bit on it.
Yeah.
Just like, oh yeah, I'll wear that sash and get an Andy Warhol haircut. Oh, absolutely, I'll do that. If there's a joke in it,
that's the thing with comics is like we'll go do that. We know it's a bad idea, but we're like, yeah, but that's probably gonna be funny though.
It's gonna be hilarious. I remember like I was in a comedy group and we just got done rehearsing. It was when I was in Chicago in my early 20s. And we were like, we got to go what do we want to do? Let's go do something fun. Let's go to a karaoke or, and my buddy goes, no, man, we got to go to something like a poetry night or whatever and ruin it. And it was just like, so they all went and came in separately and did a stage, fought with, it was just like, just to be dicks, just to ruin it. I remember, Brandy Posey told a joke on stage about how her and her boyfriend went to one of those timeshare seminars just so she could try to steamroll the salesman. Oh, it was just I was like, only a comedian would go, hey, you know what's fun? Let's go blow up some timeshare pitch. Only a comedian would think this will be awesome.
Meanwhile, the timeshare guy's like, man, my wife's gonna leave me. This is all I have. I'm in so much debt.
I just need one more. I just got to get one commission today, or I'm fired. And then some asshole comedian comes in there and goes, let me tell you something, and just like,
I'm doing this for a bit. I'm working out a new 5 here. The guy's like, my life is over. My life is.
I'm neck deep in alimony. This is the only job I could get. I got fired for embezzling at my last company. I'm just like, the only place I could work was timeshare. I feel
like I'm kind of just doing embezzling again, but kind of legally. I don't know. This feels weird. Please just let me get through the PowerPoint, please.
Let me just do this with a dry erase board and circle an arrow to money. Can you just let me do that? Like, that's all I want to do.
I just want to get home and eat my mac and cheese. That's it, man.
They repossessed my car. I'm taking the bus. I just want to get home. All right. I have just enough to buy next month's bus pass. Please pretend like I'm making the sale.
It's like, thank you for my 5. See, I think I just figured out why people hold comedians to higher regard than politicians.
Yes. We have, I mean, Lenny Bruce said it. We have built-in bullshit detectors. Now we're not
Yeah.
always right, but like, and sometimes we can get caught up in stuff. Hence all the comedians in LA that still think Obama's amazing. But for the most part, that's what we do. When everyone else is maybe even thinking, well, this is weird, but I don't want to say anything. The comedian goes, this is dumb. This is bullshit. This guy's an idiot. Like, this is what we do. This is what we do. And so we're the ones that have always spoken out. We're the ones that then get in trouble or whatever.
Yeah, that we have to get canceled because we
Right.
made a joke. I don't know if you get this. I have seen this happen to me. I've seen it happen to Lee once or twice. It's like the people that will find something to be angry about. You know, you weren't feminist enough in your joke, or
Right.
how dare you bring up this ethnic race? Do you still get that, or is that sort of becoming a thing of the past?
I mean, there's always someone that's going to be, there's always someone that's going to be outraged at something. I mean, like, I don't go through the comment section of my YouTube channel that often. I just kind of check and see how things are going or whatever. But every once in a while, there's always someone that picks out something and gets mad at the dumbest crap. Like, I can't even, like, you know what I mean? Like, and and they're like, you say one thing in the context of something else and they won't let it, like, even if you just say, like, I'm trying to think of an example of, like, whatever, like, in some instances, this has happened, and then they jump on it. You said that's the thing all the time. No, I did not. I said this first. I gave this general, like, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, whatever. And they just jump on it. I mean, that's just
Specific phrasing.
Yeah.
It's like specifically phrased, but they're still going to kind of come around it just to be mad about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've always kind of been like, man, but you're missing the bigger point of the joke.
Right. I mean, yeah. And some people are just always going to get offended. I mean, that's the thing about live comedy is the audience tells you if it's good or not. If the whole crowd doesn't really get it, then maybe the joke wasn't good. If everybody's laughing, but one person gets offended, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Then you miss the joke. And I've had people come up to me and I did this joke, it's when Ron and I were touring. We were in Fort Worth, Texas, and we were doing our progressive comedy tour. And I did this whole story about going to Japan and about how nice it is, how nice the culture is, how respectful people are. And I did sort of a mild Japanese accent. And this woman came up to me after the show, white woman, and was all offended that I was doing a racist joke. Like, I wasn't doing the, like, Hong Kong, I wasn't doing that. I was just like doing a Japanese accent, just like I did in my act, an Australian accent. I did an English accent. And she was all offended on behalf of her Asian boyfriend. And I was like, I've done this joke in Tokyo and the Japanese people loved it. So I don't know what to tell you. And she's like, well, I go, well, if I was offended at something, I would go talk to the guy. I wouldn't have my girlfriend go to it. But
yeah, I don't, have you seen Kim's Convenience? It's a show on Netflix. It's a Canadian show. It's great. It's as an Indian person, as someone from the Pacific Southeast, I'm like, man, this is the family dynamic is like they got it right. So the two of the main characters are these older Korean immigrants. So they have Korean accents, but the actors themselves are Canadian, right? I'm gonna butcher his name, but I think it's Paul Soo Young, aka the only Canadian in Star Wars. Because I think he's the only Canadian actor that's in Star Wars. He's in one episode of The Mandalorian.
Okay.
But like he plays the main character. He plays the owner of the convenience store. And this has been a conversation I've had with several people is a Canadian immigrant that doesn't have an accent doing what is an authentic Korean immigrant accent, right? Most first generation immigrants have accents. My mom still has an accent. That's just that is a reality. But I don't think it's over exaggerated. There's broken English, but that's because if you come here above the age of 12,
You're,
like you're not that neuroplastic. Like you
yeah,
can't adapt as quickly. That's just the reality. And to me, I see that show as an accurate representation of what it really is to be a Korean immigrant. And I think the two actors that do they do a really good job. They do a respectable job. It's not over the top.
right.
It's not, somebody putting tape on their eyes to make
Sure.
their eyes, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but that's the type of stuff where it's like, this is more nuanced than you want to generalize it, or the audience wants to generalize it. Whereas, yeah, doing a light Japanese accent, especially if you're telling a story where someone's talking to you, I don't really see that as offensive, because that's not even.
That's what the guy said to me,
Yeah,
like you know, and they say konnichiwa and they're polite and they bow and they're and that's the thing I was talking about, how wonderful the culture is and how that never happens in America. And that's the only time it's ever happened. And I mean, I think the thing is like, there's the history of specific with Asian, but with most ethnicities where Hollywood, like if you look at Breakfast at Tiffany's,
mm.
there is this egregious, it's a white guy playing, I forget the actor's name, Jackie Cooper. Anyway, one of those,
Mm.
no, I forget the actor's name, very famous actor in Breakfast at Tiffany's playing the Oriental neighbor. And it's a
Oh,
white guy.
I
Yes.
remember this. Yes, sorry, it just like clicked in my head. Yep, yep.
It's so racist and offensive. It's a white guy. He's buck-toothed. He's like, oh, you make noise. Like just
Right.
like that's horrible. It's a white guy doing it. But another Asian, a Korean, doing an authentic Korean immigrant act. I mean, that's how an immigrant is going to talk.
Yeah.
Like, were people mad at Robin Williams during Mrs. Doubtfire? I mean, he's doing, and you know what I mean? Like, at a certain point, if that's, if that's how someone, an immigrant talks, and you're not like mocking them, saying, oh, look at the dumb immigrant who can't speak English correctly. If you're doing that, that's obviously offensive. But if you're just saying this is how the person talks, and these situations, like you say, are authentic and funny, and the show, I'm guessing, is probably written by a Korean person who grew
Yep.
up in that situation, then it's authentic. That's the difference between like, oh, I'm mocking these immigrants as dumb or whatever, then that's obviously offensive. But it's just like, hey, this was my immigrant experience. This is
Yeah.
my experience. This is how my grandmother talked to me, and
Right.
so like, I mean, how many comedians have that in their act of the parent or grandparent who's from the old country and says stuff? I mean, just about every Asian comic I know has some joke in their act about an actual family member that's like, why are you so fat? Like they say that shit, and that's the joke. And they're not, if I do it, it's offensive. But if that's their authentic experience, that's their authentic experience.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing with the whole cancel culture thing. Is, again, it's like, I have my problems with cancel culture, but I feel like the argument's more nuanced. And I think when you kind of get these bigger cancel culture stories, you're missing the nuance of a lot of situations. Obviously, it's like stuff where it's just overtly racist. It's like, all right, yeah, you should go away.
Well, that's the cancel culture with regard to like overtly racist, or like some Karen video, somebody's spewing all this racist bullshit. It's not cancel culture. It's accountability. They're being held accountable for their behavior. Just like cops, there's video cameras
Right.
now everywhere. So cops can't just do whatever they want. They're being held accountable. But now just canceling any comedian that has a joke you don't like, I'm sorry. That's where, to me, it goes like when they were trying to cancel Dave Chappelle. And again, one of the women that was transgender, that was offensive, was out there banging the drum on how offensive this is. And people went through her Twitter account, and she had all this racist, homophobic shit in her Twitter account. That's more offensive than Dave Chappelle making a joke about transgender. I mean, I'm sorry, that's like, you can just say, I don't like that joke, or it bothers me, but we're canceling Dave Chappelle for that? No.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I haven't seen the special this is on my list of stuff that the never ending growing list of shit that I need to watch. Because we just keep producing shit. But that's one of the things is like I have watched him veer, especially with the transgender subject, and I need to see the new special before I make my like full conclusive statement and whatever. But like, I think it's just his ego. I think that the right did what the right did. He made a statement where he basically said, "I'm 42. I'm on your side, but I don't get it." So like, just keep that in mind. That was way back in 2017, and then as the years have grown, because that statement, the right kind of blew it up and they were like, oh, look, Dave Chappelle is a social justice, whatever. And then the vocal minority in the trans community got on their high horse and was like, why isn't Dave Chappelle saying something? And then it just spiraled out where it became the issue that transgender people face in society versus Dave Chappelle's ego. And that's why I'm like, you're better than writing a joke that disparages, like the trans community. I think you're just better than that. Do I want to see Dave Chappelle canceled? No, but I could probably go the rest of my life without hearing a Chappelle trans joke ever again. You know what I mean? Like that's
I mean that's also that's another, and again, there's the subtle nuance to this. As a comedian, I don't think, certain people should get canceled for certain jokes, but I agree with you. Like I always also say this, comedians are like, oh man, I got this, they got a rape joke or something. And I'm like, really? Like, or a joke about trans or homeless or something. I'm like, let's punch up. Like, there's no jokes to be made about billionaires, the war machine. There's no jokes to be made about any of that's all good. Like, do you think the system that created all of these tent cities, you think these homeless people want to be there? Like, that's where it just creatively and thematically, I'll be critical of comics. Not that they should be canceled, but I'll be like, come on, man. Like, go after someone that's in power. That's what comedians should be doing. We should be going after those in power and mocking them mercilessly, not making fun of somebody's sexual orientation or the fact that they're on the streets or what, like, that's just like, that's where I'm like, come on, comics, too bad. I'm like, and I feel the same way. Like, I don't want to cancel Dave Chappelle, but I don't need to hear him do any trans jokes. I'd rather have him, like when he said, listening in 2016, his special after the election is like, well, listening to Hillary Clinton talk about equality. I forget how he phrased it. It was like listening to Darth Vader give the I Have a Dream speech. I mean, that's brilliant. That's a brilliant joke. It's brilliant commentary on how Hillary Clinton is not some big hero for the Black community. She's a rich white lady with a lot of power. She's okayed as secretary, she's bombed people. Like that is a brilliant joke. And we need more jokes like that rather than.
Yeah. Going after Obama, Bush, Biden. I mean, all of them. And there's this reformation happening. That's what Ron, one of the times I talked to Ron, he was like, I can't wait till the Democrats reform Trump in 2026. And I don't remember whether it was on this podcast or on one of his live streams, but I was like, yeah, I feel like people are going to pull this video up in like 3-4 years when everybody is like, look at Trump. He's just a cool little 80-year-old. Look at his golf swing, just like we're doing with Bush, just like we're going to do with Obama. And it was like during the election, we did this with Biden. This is a dude that has created some of the most horrific racist bills. He spent decade after decade trying to go after the Black community. Like, his stance on drugs was more hardlined than fucking Nixon, which says something. And we turned him into sweet old man Joe, and it's like, this is who we should be going after.
Yes. It's Joe Biden in his first year has signed more drilling permits than Trump. So I think that should take precedent over a trans joke or another Tinder joke or another sex joke.
Yeah.
I really think that should take precedent. You know what I mean? Like Jeff Bezos flying his cock rocket around a planet that's on fire. I think that I have a Jeff Bezos joke and I'm going to I'm working on it. I'm making it better because I really would like to see the billionaire class get eliminated. And I'm going to focus on that joke before I make fun of a homeless person who is basically just the end result of late stage toxic capitalism.
Amen. Dude, thank you for doing this. This was really fun. I had a great time. It's I don't get to talk about like nerdy comedy shit on this as much, because like because most of the people I have on here are like musicians and journalists and like
Right.
activists and people who are like, I have a plan to make change, and I was like, good, let's get your voiceover. It's like I can't just be like, I have this dick joke I'm working on. Do you think it's good? Do you think?
I mean, I have a couple of dick jokes in my act. I'm not saying I'm holier than thou. I'm just saying I'd rather do a dick joke before like mocking some group,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
but I have a lot of political stuff in my act too. Yeah, no, it is great
Yeah.
just talking nuts and bolts about comedy. I love talking that.
Yeah, dude, seriously, thank you for doing this. Where can people find out where you're back to performing live in Hawaii now a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit here, and I'm doing a show with Ron Placone this Thursday at Flappers in Burbank.
Awesome.
So Ron's got the show, and I'm going to be doing some time on it. So check that out. It's Thursday, the February 10th at Flappers in Burbank. And if you go to grahamelwood.com, you can sign up for my newsletter. You can, watch all my show, Political Vigilante, that I do like 4 or 5 days a week, and all the shows within that, like Anything Can Happen and You Should Know This, which is like political game show stuff. And then of course, Government Secrets with Lee Camp, which is like so much fun to do every week. We just laugh our asses off talking about how horrible America is. We just talk about how, and this is again, to the point here, Lee and I could do a podcast about anything and be funny and have fun doing it. We could talk about sports, movies, pop culture, and we could riff and make each other laugh. But we chose to talk about all the awful shit America has done and to wake people up to that America is actually the bad guy. And we've been the bad guy pretty much from day one. And so that's what I think we all should be doing with our voices and our platform. So yeah, go to grahamelwood.com, at Graham Elwood on all social media, and follow what I do. It'd be great to have you check out where I'm at.
Hell yeah. Thanks so much, man. This was great.
Yeah, dude. Anytime.
And kapow. That was a little bit of a weak kapow, wasn't it? Let me try that one more time for you guys. Kapow! That was a little bit better. That's our conversation with Graham Elwood, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Go check out Graham's work. Available on Rockfin, Odyssey, wherever you get your podcasts from. He's available on YouTube at Graham Elwood. Follow him on the Twitters. Follow him on the Instagrams at Graham Elwood. And go to grahamelwood.com. And if you go to his Rockfin page, rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, you get to see some of the documentaries he's produced as well. Afghanistan and Graham in Russia, Part 1 and Part 2. Those are all available on his Rockfin channel, rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. And he's got live shows coming up as well, in-person live shows. I know that's like kind of to me it's still kind of a big deal because I'm like I still don't get the opportunity to perform live as much as I would like to, just because of how crazy things are. And now things are kind of settling down. We're heading into this sort of endemic situation with everything with COVID. So I will say this. I know I mentioned this in previous episodes, but I think it's important to repeat this. Regardless of what you believe about this pandemic, what your beliefs are about the vaccines and so on and so forth, please, please, please be respectful to the venues and to the artists when you go see a live show in regards to some of the protocols that they are taking, right? If you are somebody that is not vaccinated, doesn't believe in the vax cards and so on and so forth, just go get a test and show the negative test and wear a mask, because as much as it is your right not to get a vaccine, it is our right as performers and employees of really small. I mean, these are small businesses. Most of the venues that people like myself, Graham, Lee, Ron perform at are small businesses that are doing their best to make sure that they can keep everybody, including the audience, safe. So if you are somebody that doesn't want to get vaccinated and all that sort of stuff, and that's fine. Again, as much as that is your right not to get vaccinated, it is our right to feel safe and healthy in um, in the place where we work, which is the venue. So if you go see a live show in the next year or whatever, please be respectful to the venue and to the performers, and know that we're doing our best to ensure that everybody can feel safe and everybody can feel comfortable, and everybody can enjoy themselves at these shows. That's sort of the big thing. We're if we want to get to some kind of normalcy, we're going to have to respect each other in some way, shape, or form, and that is going to mean that some folks. And again, if you are someone that is vaccinated, that is fine with showing the vax cards and all that sort of stuff, please don't chastise the people that don't want to do this. They have their reasons. Please listen to them, even if you disagree with them. Just be respectful of each other. That really doesn't, as big as it sounds, it really doesn't take that much effort to say, hey, I disagree with your decision. If you're unvaccinated, please, if you would like to speak to me, please wear a mask. Please wear a mask when you go up to the bar and order a drink. Just for the safety of the bartenders and of the performers. I know it's uncomfortable, but that's what's going to help make everybody feel safe and comfortable. And look, and if you're one of these people that says, "Hey, masks are not, I don't feel uncomfortable," well, it kind of sounds like this venue or this show might not be the right place for you to be at the moment. That doesn't mean that we're trying to shun you or kick you out. We're just trying to feel safe and healthy, you know, and that's within our right. And if you don't want to adhere to these protocols, that's okay. It just means that unfortunately you won't be able to enjoy the show. Um, and that sucks. I know that sucks, but don't get mad at the venue. Those decisions are all based on the choices that you guys have made, and the folks that are at the show made different choices, and that's why they're there. Again, just be respectful to each other and understand that these protocols and rules are put in place for particular reasons. So yeah, that's my little spiel at the end of the podcast here. A little call for respect, a little call for mutual respect here. That's really what this is. But with all that said, I mentioned this at the top of the show. I'll mention this at the bottom of the show as well. Next Thursday, I will not have a new episode of Taboo Table Talk, but I will be doing a forkful of noodles live and virtual recording. We're talking about Cuba next week, so if that is a topic that you are interested in, or that you want to learn more about, or you have thoughts and opinions and want to see if my thoughts and opinions kind of match up with yours, then please do come to that show. And then the following week, March 3rd, I'm going to be doing a new material night. It's going to be over Zoom. You can be anywhere in the world to come hang out, working on some new jokes, tweaking up some old jokes, and maybe doing one or two stories throughout the show as well. It's usually about an hour that the show these shows last for anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. That's really it. So it would be the equivalent of going out, but since it's on a weekday, um, if you don't want to go out but you still want to catch some entertainment, that's why I shifted my shows to Thursday. So those are the two shows coming up. Tickets are available on my website, krishmohanhaha.com, krishmohanhaha.com. I'm also going to be on tour with Ron Placone April 16th through the 25th. We're going to be in Pittsburgh, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Burlington, Vermont, Portland, Maine, Boston, Massachusetts, and New York City. Grab your tickets directly on my website or off Ron's website at ronplacone.com. I will probably have Ron on this podcast soon. I'll probably have him on the podcast relatively soon. We'll talk about the tour. We'll talk about a bunch of other stuff. There's been some big net neutrality stuff that has happened, so I do need to get Ron back on the old potting cast here. And also next week I'll be on Get Your News On with Ron. Last Thursdays of every month I'll be on. I'll be doing Get Your News On with Ron. As well. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. There's a lot coming up. There's a lot happening. Like I said, I am going to be prioritizing rest. I'm going to be prioritizing taking some breaks here. Primarily on Sundays. It seems like is when I can start scheduling some of these like rest days and stuff like that. So yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for hanging out. I really appreciate all the folks that listen to this, that have contributed and become sustaining members, and that share this stuff out. I have tons of backlogged episodes, and I'm going to be doing clips and stuff. I'm going to be putting up clips and things like that on social media and things of that sort too. So those are coming up for folks that maybe can't catch the full episode, or maybe you're like, well, I like Graham, but I'm not sure who this Vijay Prashad person is, or who Ben Norton is, or who Shamika Parrish is. So I don't know if I want to get into those episodes. Well, great. Don't worry about that. Because if you're unsure, I will have clips up on these little social media platforms that will go, oh, okay, if that's what this person's all about, maybe I'll check out the full episode and see what's up. So yeah, that all is coming up soon. I am just one person doing all this stuff until I get more funds to pay somebody to help me with audio and video editing. I kind of do all this stuff myself, which means all of this stuff is kind of slowed down. And that's why your donations and sustaining memberships are so important, so valued, and so appreciated, because it helps me get closer to that goal of just creating content full time and being able to pay somebody to kind of take care of some of the other work that kind of goes into creating content, such as audio and video editing, such as gathering media assets and things of that sort. So yeah, stay tuned. Check out my website for all of those updates. Join my free email list, because I am posting less on social media. It's going to be more kind of less posts, but more focused posts. Let's put it that way. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. I'm very excited for all the projects that are coming up over the next couple of months. But till then, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and stay taboo, everybody. We'll see you later.